Hi there, it's Jane Archie from JSpeak Solutions, and I'm glad to talk to you about the business of beauty. And in this, the JSpeak message of the month, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about continuing education. That's what I'm all about, is education. And I wanted to remind you that it is something we need in most cases, in most states, in order to renew our license. But there are so many different misunderstandings about CE that I wanted to kind of clarify a few things for you. So let's talk about what it is. Continuing education, and what it should be, is really more education for you. Most states are going to require CE because our business and our industry changes. You know that. There's so many fads, there's so many new things, there's so many interesting and great things happening, but we have to keep up to date. And so in many states, we have the requirement of doing at least a few hours of continuing education every year. And I would hope that you would begin to look at continuing education as an investment in yourself, as an investment in your professionalism, because I do know that in my travels throughout the industry, most people want to know the newest fad. They look up and watch the videos in YouTube, they watch the Instagram things, they watch all kinds of different presentations, and the shows that we have are generally mobbed because people want to see the newest things, they want to hear, they want to get better. And so continuing education is one of those pieces. I can talk specifically about Texas because that's the state I'm in and that's the state I am a provider for. But in Texas, we only need 4 hours of education. That 4 hours, though, every 2 years has to have at least 1 hour of sanitation. And that's an important part because our sanitation does change. Our rules do change. And an example of that is, it used to be when I got my license, you could use alcohol to disinfect any of your implements on a manicuring table. You cannot use alcohol anymore. And so it's important that we keep up with what the state requires, and it's important that we keep up so that we can do better for our customers. And I know that that's why we're in this business. So let's talk about what's online and continuing education. I know that I used to be busy. And when I'm so busy, continuing education is the last thing on my mind. And so when it comes to the expiration of my license, I know, oh my God, I have to do this. So the 2 days beforehand, I start looking and try to find something that I can do so that I can have my requirements, so that I can pay my fee and get my license. Well, the problem is many of the CE courses that I see online, they're different, but they actually don't tell you anything about who they are or what they do. And so I think it's important, if I'm going to invest in nowadays my $35, $40 in a continuing education class, I ought to figure out what it is that I want and what it is that I'm going to get in this continuing education class. And so I would demand more from that provider and find out what's listed in the course. What are you going to learn in that course? I know that that's something I do all the time. When I put out a course, I list the things that you're going to get from it, and that's important. Now, all the CE classes that are out there can talk about being continuing ed, but most states have an approved list. And on that approved list has to be what you are going to take for that course. Otherwise, you're not going to get the credit, and it's not going to be usable for you to renew your license. In the state of Texas, it's important that you realize that all of the show classes and all of the beauty supply classes don't often find themselves on the list of approved courses. Also, let me say this about teachers. An instructor cannot have any course in CE. It has to be a course that has teaching methodologies. And a lot of the wonderful classes that show you how to do something don't necessarily show you how to teach them if you're an instructor. And so it's very important that even though you want to get the skills and improve your skills, that if you want the credit in order to renew your license, you also make sure that you take a class in which it has been approved as a teaching methodology course. And that's the piece that is really important. All right, now I do want to talk about one other thing that is a little bit confusing. So here's an example. Let's say that my license expires December 14th of 2020. Hopefully that you have renewed your license and you had some kind of continuing education course. Well, guess what? You can take my course today, which is December 27th of 2020, and it will be good for your renewal of your license in December of 2022. So what we don't seem to understand is we don't have to wait until the day before, the week before, or even within the 6 months before. Even though we may be contacted by TDLR to remind us of our renewal, if we take continuing education anytime in the 2-year period of our license, it will be good in order for you to renew your license for the next time. The other part about continuing education classes, especially in Texas, is that they don't last forever. So as a provider, I make a course and I make a new course every single year. And you can't use what I did last year. If you took it already, you can't use it for the next year. And this is the last part of it. You want to choose the right provider. You want to choose a continuing education that you know is going to give you something. I know that in our profession, we want to be better. We want to be good for our customer, we want to be good for ourselves, and we have fun doing that. I know that we pursue education, and sometimes we leave continuing education as just some piece that we don't really need. That's the piece you need to invest in. That's the piece you need to be sure about. So you need to choose the right provider every time and invest your money. Invest in yourself. Invest in that professionalism that you know you want to uplift yourself. You want to learn the new skill. But be sure that you are doing that, and that's going to give you what you need in order to renew your license, so that it's a twofer. You can always go to shows, you can always go to classes, and hopefully you are a lifelong learner that's going to be watching videos, that's going to be doing a whole lot with this industry. But for continuing education, don't see that as one of those, oh my goodness, I have to do that, and I'll just sit at the computer and click the button and make sure that I just get the credit for it. Use that time. It's only 4 hours in the state of Texas. For some states, you don't even need that. You may need it for an accredited school, but you don't even need it for the state requirement, but it is an investment in yourself. And so I wholeheartedly push that you try to look at continuing education as the professional development that it is, and that you really research who you are investing your money with, find out what they're giving you, and then invest your money in that so that you can learn these new skills and that you can be better. I know that 2021 is going to be the most fantastic year for all of us because it's going to be different, just like 2020 was. So I hope to see you in my message of the month of February. I'm looking forward to that, and you can always find me at www.jspeaksolutions.com. Have a great day.